Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter and, I guess, happy April Fool's Day. Today is a very, very ironic day. So as I'm drinking my morning coffee, and I usually use my cup for 2 or 3 days, just because they say that, washing your coffee pot in your cup every day is going to affect the flavor. So when I went to pour my coffee today from yesterday's cup, I'm using my Jelly Belly cup there. So I happen to like Jelly Belly jelly beans, so everyone for a while was giving me way too many. And thankfully this Easter I did not get Jelly Bellies, but I am using my cup. And today also happens to be the day that I had chosen, just randomly, to harvest the carrots out. So we're going to be doing that. Here in California, we've been in a heat wave. We went from 10 degrees below average, where we were in the low 50s for over a week, and I couldn't harden anything off. I couldn't plant anything out other than the cold crops. And then we went to, we hit about 80, and I thought, wow, that's pretty warm. I hope that the lettuces and such are going to be okay. And then we went up to like 88, and we were at 88, 87 for a couple of days. That was 4 and 5 days ago, I think, or 3 and 4. And then we went down to 84. Yesterday we were only about at 82, but, oh no, we were in the 70s, but it felt like 82 because the humidity. And so today is going to be a very comfortable, around 80-degree day probably. But here in the garden room, it gets really warm, as you can imagine, with all the windows I have in here. And this sits up on the top of my cabinet, so it's right up under a window. And the carrots just are not doing well with it. I've been having to water them every couple of days. I didn't water them yesterday when I should have, because I figured today I'm going to harvest out anyway. So here we go. These carrots were planted on, I believe it was November 28th. When most of the other first seeds were planted, and I know that this was planted way back then. Unfortunately, I did not write it up. December 6th. So, these were planted on December 6th, so December, January, February, March. So, roughly, almost 4 months ago. So, they should have been ready a couple of months ago if, you go by the 65 to 70 day period. But I did harvest a few at, I think it was 70 days or something like that. And they were edible, but they were very small. So let's see what I have now. I'm going to start with the guy in the middle, or girl, because that one appears to be the biggest. And these are Danvers. And according to the picture, they are supposed to be exactly like that. Let me get this out. They're really tangled up. They've done it incredibly well. And you see how they're a little hairy? From what I understand, when they get hair, this one's not bad at all, really. But when they're really hairy, that means you haven't been watering enough. So I've been known to have very hairy carrots, but this one is a beautiful, beautiful carrot. And the carrots that I grew last year from this same packet were short like this and shaped exactly like this at full size. So I believe this is it. And you see from the tip of it, it was just, barely pushing on the bottom of this pot. So this particular variety, and I didn't bring the packet in, but I got them from a friend. They're Danvers carrots. I don't know if it said half long or not. But this is the next biggest one here. Really excited about this because I do have a use for these today. I'm steaming or sauteing, I haven't decided which, a bunch of vegetables today to go with my ham. See how hairy this one is? That means I didn't water enough. And this one is a little bit shorter, but look at how thick that is. So I'm very pleased, considering originally I think there were 11 in this pot. I had pulled 3 before. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, I pulled more than that before then, because there were at least 10 or 11 in here. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know, I have it on video somewhere. I never uploaded it yet, so I'll see how many were in here. But maybe it was 9. Another nice one. One of these is going to be rather small. For some reason, it germinated a lot later than the others. But this is a 6-inch pot. And I wouldn't do this. Oh, that's really nice. Look at that. I wouldn't do this during the spring or summer or any time when you're having to grow. Look at that. Grow other plants for the garden indoors, because it really took up a lot of space. And but during the winter, I would definitely do this again. And the cute little tiny one, that might be the little one that started later. Or this one. So yeah, this is the only, and this one did split, and this happens a lot if you have rocky or sandy soil. It's hard to see. See the little split there at the end? I don't know why it did it in here. And this is what I ended up with sometimes in the garden, was a little round thing like that. Not sure why that happens exactly. Maybe I wasn't watering enough, so anything that impeded it growing down probably affected it during its early growth. So, but I know during the early stage I was watering this very well when it was in a location I could reach it more easily, and when I wasn't completely crowded out in here. So anyway, there's the carrot harvest. But I did want to show you, I am finally getting the plants out of the garden room, and I'm hardening them off outside. So let's go out there and take a quick look at that, since it's such a beautiful day, and we'll end our video out there. Before we head all the way out to the garden, I wanted to show you one plant I am having some difficulty with hardening off. It just seems to want to, especially this one here, fall down every time I put it outside. And I don't know why I didn't notice this prior. Let me show you up close. These long stems, and this one's beginning to bloom right here, I never snipped the ends off of, and with how long these are, I should have cut them prior to going outside. See, the shorter stuff is sticking up nicely. Other than this falling down, it seems to be doing okay with the hardening off. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten it up, and I really don't want to snip it as low as I'm going to, but with the weight of this, I really kind of want to snip it way up here, but I'm going to have to do that, and then it'll grow more suckers at hopefully these 4 junctions. But I've been doing the Praxxus method on this. Let me snip this other one. I'm going to snip this one way up here and see if maybe that's enough. And if I wanted to, this is my black cherry tomato plant. If I wanted to, I could use these and propagate more plants. I've been doing the Praxxus method. Let me show you that real quick. So what I've done is the plant, the bottom of the cup actually would be about a ½ inch from the bottom of this. And I only had it in 2 inches of soil down here. I don't know how low you can see because I can't see what you're seeing. I'm just hoping I'm doing this well. So it was sitting in 2 inches of soil. That's how I usually start my tomatoes, so that I can add soil up the stem and then it'll grow more roots. And then after I added more soil to the little cup, I put it in a bigger solo cup and put a little bit more soil up the stem. So when I moved it to this bigger pot, I had already cut off the top, and that would be, let me turn it around so you can see it. See this nub right here? That was the top of the plant previously, and I had left, I think it was 4 or 5 of the leaf sets, so that when I cut the top off, it forced the suckers to come out, and that's what these are. So instead of having one plant coming up out of the soil, I now have 3 from the suckers, because each of these is growing roots down below the soil as well. And then when I put it into the ground, I'm going to bury it as deep as I can, hopefully about up to there, and that makes 4 plants. So I've got this, 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 and this. And that way it's going to be able to produce a lot more fruit than if I were to single stem it, where you cut all the suckers off and just leave the main stem to grow the tomatoes on. So anyway, that is the Praxxus method, and you can learn a lot more about that at Praxxus 55712. Ray has an excellent channel there, and so many people are now doing this method as opposed to the single stem method. It may look like there's a lot of things planted around here, but this is actually, this tomatillo, because of its height, I had to put the cage in this fabric pot down here and just set the pot down on top of it. Here are the 2 Praxxus cherry tomato plants. The smaller one right here, the one that I had taken a cutting off of the bigger one down here on the ground and started a new plant. This one is doing very well. It has been in and out of the sun for days, I don't know, at least 6 days. And yesterday it was outside most of the day. Here's the mother plant. And I don't know if you can tell, but the leaves are just a lot more weepy. What happened is I let it get too big, and I let it fruit. You're not supposed to let it fruit, because now the plant is out here trying to get acclimated to the bright sunshine that's taking moisture from it. It's trying to support fruit. It's trying to get used to this, really harsh climate, actually, especially with us being in 80-degree weather. Right now it's only in the 70s, which is perfect, and there's no wind, so it's a perfect wind day for hardening off. But because it's completely clear, it's actually not a great day for hardening your plants off. It's just too harsh. However, most of these plants have been either in and out of the sun for days, or now they've been out in the sun primarily for most of the day for the last couple of days. Yesterday was a nice cloudy day, so that helped too. Let me show you a little bit about what's going on and talk to you about it. Here's another example of what not to do. This is a Jimmy Nardella pepper plant, and you can see a bunch of fruit hanging here, a bunch of peppers. There's 3 big ones here, a medium one there, and a bunch of others coming on. You should, whenever you're growing plants indoors, preparing them for outdoor, you should always pop off all the flowers, not let them fruit. It just is too much for the plant to be able to support while it's getting exposed to the sunshine, the harsh conditions out here. So you see these little plants right here, you'd think these wouldn't be ready to be out in the sun, but they're faring very well as compared. This guy has been out here longer than most of the other plants. This one, and actually this one over here too. This is a Scotch bonnet, and I've never grown super hot peppers before. And Scotch bonnet pepper is, it has a different growth pattern than most other pepper plants I've seen, and it's very short and very full. And I thought something was wrong with it, so prior to asking my pepper lover friends online about it, I planted another seed, and that sprouted. And I was thinking, well, what if that one doesn't do well? So I planted yet one more. These 2 back here are called white devil's tongues, and this one back here is ahi mango. So all these are new to me, but they're all doing very well. When I first put them out, I put them out for longer than I should have. I had forgotten them. Bad thing to do, because you see, I don't know if you can see it from there, these leaves here are curled on the white devil's tongues. The other 3 did perfectly fine. In fact, they're probably ready to go in the ground, as well as some of these others. But what I'm doing right now is I'm popping off any of the new flowers and some of the small peppers off of the bigger plants so that I can get them in the ground. As for the peppers, I'm just going to go ahead and leave them on. I'm hoping that by removing the flowers and the smallest peppers, I'm lightening its load enough to be able to take the transplant. And you see, I have crates out here. In order for some of the plants, especially the tomatoes and the tomatillo over there, to not fall over when there's a gust of wind, I've been using these crates. And I'll have 2 or 3 of them in there at a time sometimes to hold each other up. Right now there's just a big one in there because it's not going to fall over anyway, but just as an example. And this is the other thing I do so that they don't fall down. I dig a hole in the soil where there's not a plant at. This is actually where these plants are going to go. I'm pretty sure it's either these or the tomatoes. And then I put them in and I pack the soil around the base. That way they don't fall over as easy. Most of these are ready to go into the ground or into the pots. The weather's supposed to cool a little bit, so I think I'm going to wait for a couple days before putting anything into the beds. But with the fabric pots or any sort of pot like that where you can move it around, you're pretty safe. You can move it where you need to. Hopefully I don't have to move it indoors. We have had cold spells like, a week ago when it was too chilly to keep plants outdoors. And especially at night, we were still in the 30s a week ago, and then all of a sudden, bam, we're in the 50s at night. So, anyway, that's some of the things that I do. I hope you learned something that you can use from this video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Again, happy Easter. Happy April Fool's Day too. And I will see you next video. Oh, and if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and do that, and then click the bell button, and maybe you'll get notifications. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.